Talk up youth, Masefi. Talk up youth.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. I don't know. I mean, Demoye say it a lot. We're excited to be here because we're talking about young leaders in politics. And this is one of my favorite topics because, when it comes on to youth and I'm not serious. When it comes down to youth and politics, it's an era in Jamaica that we always talk about and we always discuss. So when I see individuals ready and they're ready to serve and be leaders in our country, then I am really, really excited about that movement because I feel if one person take on the lead, then we can inspire others, right?
Very good.
All right. So we are joined in the studio by a number of young leaders in politics this morning, and I'm excited to hear what they have to offer to the show. So one more time, guys, just tell us who is here before we introduce our guests.
All right, start with me. I'm here. Demoye is here. Man, I joke. I'm here.
Hey guys, it's Tristan. I know you really, really missed me, and I felt it in my heart. So somebody have to come back.
Seriously.
All right, hey everybody, this is Steven the teacher.
Steven the teacher. So I'm not going to tell you guys who is here with us. I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves, starting with, tell us about yourself.
Hi, I'm Howard Chamberlain, president of Young Jamaica. I am a youth at heart. I'm youth by age. I've pretty much been involved in youth development my entire life, from National Secondary Students Council, National Youth Council of Jamaica, National Youth Parliament, and presently I'm at the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information. So I'm youth by association, youth at heart, and youth by age.
Well, good morning everyone.
Good morning.
Wow. So I'm Durronjae Boothe. Most people call me DJ.
You have to say that name a little bit slow for the listeners.
It's Durronjae Boothe. Alright. So, well, I'm the president for the G2K affiliate chapter of UWI Mona. It's called the Mona Campus Youth League. I'm a final year master's student who's doing economics. I did BSc in actual sciences, graduated in 2014.
Hey, congrats.
I'm a leader by birth. Many things happen to me in life that I can't explain. So my mission is to ensure that I make Jamaica better in any way possible, or shape or form that I can.
Amazing. Leader by birth. That's some powerful stuff, guys. So people normally hear about, the G2K, Young Jamaica, PNPYo, but not many persons are aware of what your organization does or know enough about it. So can you just tell us a little bit about your organizations?
Well, for G2K and G2K Mona, for us, it's really empowerment through youth integration and youth leadership. It's more than just politics. We are here to enlighten and give information to the youth about the do's and the don'ts in the political arena. It's not always about the politics for us. We build leaders. We engage students in enhancing themselves through education and through community involvement, co-curricular and service engagement. So for us, it's really more than just politics. It's more about getting all of our youth in Jamaica. Let them understand what we're about.
Yes, I understand.
And likewise, Young Jamaica is the political youth arm of the Jamaica Labour Party. We've been around since 1972, so we're not necessarily new. Our job is to act as a conduit between our young people and the party to ensure that the views and aspirations of our youth are represented inside the party and are represented through policies coming out of the party and by extension the government.
And you said that you guys act as a conduit between the youth and the political parties. Why do you think that's such an important role to play in our country?
Especially with youth development, youth would want to ensure that their views are heard at all different levels, at the government levels, at your NGOs, your international organization. But an important sector in our society that our young people tend to shy away from or to ignore is the political sector.
Yes.
And the political sector has a whole lot of impact on your future, on your lives, on the things that are important to you.
So as you said, we know the G2K and Young Jamaica are affiliates of the Jamaica Labour Party. You said it's important that youth get involved in politics because we have a mission. I have a mission that says, in order to create a future for our youth, you must actively engage our youth in the creation of said future, right? And it's very important that we get involved. But I really want to know, tell us, why do you choose the JLP?
Well, for me, I'm a follower of the principles of Sir Alexander Bustamante, and that is simply a principle of balancing labor with capital, none to the detriment of the other. Bustamante was very passionate about ordinary Jamaicans, ensuring that people are treated fairly, ensuring that I'm not going to give you a fish, but I'm going to teach you how to fish so that you can fish for a very long time. So those are some of the basic principles that drew me towards the Jamaica Labour Party.
And as young leaders, I have to say it's the same, because we realize that when persons share the same wavelength, share the same understanding, the thoughts are similar. So for the G2K as well, it's the same thing. We believe that we want to teach persons how to fish rather than giving you the fish for yourself. So it's more the Jamaica Labour Party as a choice for me. It's because it forces us to be competitive as youth. We don't believe in the handout aspect, which is a general thought in our political arena,
and a distinction between us and the People's National Party.
So as youth leaders, there's a common understanding among all youth leaders that youth leadership and advocacy is not easy, and sometimes it's very ungrateful. And as such, you need a mission and a passion and a drive that pushes you every day to come out and fight for what you believe in. What's your mission and your passion that make you wake up every morning and say,
decide that,
yeah, I'm going to come out and fight for what I believe in?
Alright, so as president for G2KU Mona, it's a part of my duty to interact with the students of the university.
Yes.
In my day-to-day interaction, I realize that there's this disinterest in politics amongst all our youth, especially at the university level, which is odd, because the University of the West Indies is the most prestigious university in the Western Hemisphere. And to see that our educated youth are disinterested in this thing known as politics, there's a two side to it.
Right.
For me, I'm not being selfish, but the more persons that are disinterested, it seems as it is easier for me to make that move into the political arena. However, it mitigates the level of competitiveness as well. I believe that because we are the university students and young youth, we need to be more involved. We need to get more engaged. We need to understand what's happening in our political arena.
For me, it's just simply to make an impact. I want to see a better Jamaica. That is the end goal for me. Coming from a very humble circumstances and having experienced a lot of stuff that the ordinary Jamaican would have experienced in today's day. I mean, for me, it is a zest, a zeal, a yearning to just change the landscape of Jamaica to ensure that we are developed, we become that place to live, work, study, raise our family, and to do business.
And it's quite interesting that you raised, Durronjae, that there's this interest among the especially students at the university level, because I was even having a conversation the other day with some individuals, and we were making the observation that a lot of the seats on the guild are uncontested. I mean, students are not just having a disinterest in politics, but this is a disinterest in leadership. So, I mean, what do you think are some of the things that we now need to do, at the risk of jumping, that we need to do to kind of encourage them or motivate them to become leaders?
All right, well, even though we see this happening in Jamaica, I've been to other Caribbean countries, and it's the same thing. It's a general thing amongst youth in West Indies that they are disinterested in politics. Maybe it's because of the history that we've had as West Indies and the leaders that we have over the years. However, I believe that what we can do as young people is to reach them. Right? There's a generation gap at the moment. To be honest, majority of the leaders that in the countries now, that's in the country now, they are very old. I'm very young. I'm 24. 20 years from now, I'm 44. Their future expectation, criteria of life is 20. They will inevitably be disseminated. And we are the young leaders. We will be the persons to lead. And because of generation gap, as we say, we are the conduit. So we try to build our youth through reach. However, because of the disinterest, most time it disinterests me as well, to be honest. But the road must go on, I believe.
So earlier on yesterday we saw a tweet from one of your senators, Senator Matthew Samuda, that kind of hit at Krystal Tomlinson, who just became the president of the People's National Party's youth organization. And if I remember correctly, the tweet said, congratulating somebody on being the president of the PNPYo is like congratulating somebody on a car crash. Now, in knowing how how.
But I don't think that was a job
sometimes-
at Krystal. I think there was more a job at the people, the PNPYo.
Well, in knowing how ungrateful sometimes politics is and youth leadership, and how much you have to drive and pull interest out of youth to get involved in leadership and politics, as youth organizations of the JLP, how did that make you feel seeing that?
As a young person, how did that make you feel as a young person?
Again, it wasn't a job at Krystal. It was a job at the PNPYo.
But how
because
by
face it,
extension?
the PNPYo has been a very dead organization in recent times. So, I mean, Matthew was probably saying that, I mean, congratulate anybody, whether Krystal or if Omar wants to switch over to the PNPYo or anybody else, going to the PNPYo is like, I mean, it's a dead horse. There's nothing happening there. So I don't want it to be taken out of context. The comment wasn't directed at any individual, but at an organization, and I'm sure that is okay.
And with that, we are going to take a break, guys. Talk of you, Musafi.
Talk of you.
We'll be right back.
So we're speaking about Senator Matthew Samuda's tweet this yesterday, PNPYo, and saying that congratulating anybody on being president of the PNPYo is like congratulating somebody for a car crash. Now, you said it wasn't a job at the president, Krystal Tomlinson, but a job at the organization itself, and leads me to ask a question. Do you think that as a leader of the country, as senator, a job at any organization that promotes youth development, youth involvement and involvement in leadership for the country is acceptable? Is that what you're saying? As long as it's cross political lines, it's acceptable.
Of course, it's acceptable. I mean, it's a political organization. Again, remember that we exist in an adversarial sort of political system where there's a JLP versus a PNP. There's a PNPYo versus a Young Jamaica, a PNP Patriots versus a G2K. These organizations have different ideologies and philosophies, and they're competing to sell the ideology or philosophy to young people and hoping that they would accept one of the school of thought.
Do you not think it's, not to quite, but do you not think it's necessary to, as two organizations, to put Jamaica first? Because of course,
but we've always put Jamaica first.
But you just said it was acceptable to.
We have always put Jamaica first, but it's okay to have political jobs at each other every now and then. I don't think they're harmful.
I want to jump in here to continue on that line, Howard. Don't you think that this kind of atmosphere lends to the somewhat tribalistic nature of our present climate in politics?
Right.
I think we have come a far way from being a tribal country that has a very tribal political climate. I mean, certainly, if you'd have gone back in history and you'd have seen the 70s and the 80s, I mean, we probably wouldn't even be in the same room with Krystal or Omar.
But one of the things you have to realize, in moving from tribalism, we've moved to a culture now of apathy. So you've moved from people overly taking one side as opposed to the other side and just deciding to stay away from the issue at all. So how then is it that we are moving forward if this is what we have moved to?
Well, the issue of apathy has to be a cultural change. I think people in general, they're not very excited about voting, very excited about government and politics. Largely because you can say that our history would have proven that political party woo people by spoils and buying votes and giving you this and giving you that. Now we have somehow morphed into a sort of climate where it's about ideas, about what I want to do for the country. And I don't think the general population are sort of bought into that sort of politics just yet. We're getting there, but we're not there yet. But we are seeing slight improvements in our numbers in terms of our voter turnout.
And I want to get a little from Durronjae for this question. Do you think that in that newness there is space for somewhat kind of a twofold investment in each other? Because don't you think, I'm basically asking, is it far-reaching from you guys to be involved in a collaboration with yourself and the political affiliates of the People's National Party? Do you see yourselves collaborating? Do you see yourselves investing each other in that newness of climate?
Well, as young people, there's a change, and there's a change coming. As Howard said earlier, the time of tribalism is long and gone. I foresee a new political organization actually coming up in due time. Because we are young people and we are know about the ideas and the policies going forward and we are less tribal. There is room for collaboration. There is room for enhanced growth and enhanced ideas. A time will come where I see a not a Jamaica where it's JLP or it's PNP, it's what's best for our nation.
Talk up, you.
Just to jump in quickly on that. I mean, the youth arms of both political parties, we've always enjoyed an excellent relationship with each other. When Connolly Black was at the helm of the PNPYo, I mean, we had talks between our executives in terms of projects that we would have collaborated on. And I'm sure Krystal will continue some of those talks and we'll actually have a project collaborating on. So, not to get it wrong, we don't have a sort of relationship when I see Krystal or Omar on the street, I'm going to cut my eye and pass them. We're going to eel up each other because we're friends at the end of the day.
But
well, we're grateful for that. We are grateful for that.
But if we are being real, majority of the persons within Parliament have an excellent relationship off media and off sight of the public. But then it's the media that I'm worried about, what they portray. Because you guys share an excellent relationship. That's all good and well. But what are you doing when you come onto the platform? What are you doing to show your voters, to show young people that, this is not how we are in real life. This is not how we are in the real sense of the word.
Earlier you mentioned the issue of apathy and young people not being interested. I think one of the reasons why young people are really not interested in politics is because when you have comments like what Peter Bunting and Garnet Roper would have said the other day, where you pretty much threw a large jab at black people in general trying to attain a good education, trying to move themselves up the social ladder, which is by the nature of the ideology of the Labour Party, that we're giving you the opportunity to elevate yourself. I mean, that in itself would have turned off any right-minded young person.
Yeah, but Howard, if we're going to look beyond, comments like those, we need to be real and say to ourselves, what exactly has really turned off our youth from politics, and to just throw it out there, things such as politicians coming making promises to young people and not fulfilling them.
I'm happy that this government would have fulfilled most of the promises that we would have made to our people, and the promises that we haven't fulfilled yet, we have given timelines in terms of when we will be fulfilling them. So I'm glad that culture is changing.
Sounds wonderful, Howard. But I have a quick question, Howard. I have a quick question. What has the JLP's youth arm, Young Jamaica, and MCYL, what have you guys been doing to change the face of politics for it to look attractive to the youth populace?
To add to that, let me give some kind of characteristic to it. Good. I was speaking with somebody yesterday, and the thing that they said is that they don't feel as though the youth arms are capturing their ideas and their attention. And I hear you guys talking about ideas. The phrase that he used to describe both party youth arms is that they are vote gathering sentinels. Good. So how is it that you guys as youth organizations are changing that aspect? What are you doing to get them involved?
Well, alright. For MCYL, we do share excellent relationship with PNPYo, and to show that it's not all about garnering votes. We actually have objective debates, objective conversation and discussions in our meetings together. It's not about going in the street and garnering persons for a political mission. But for me, mostly in my organization, we provide opportunities where we let our persons do public speaking. We teach them how to write policies fitting for government. We put them on platforms to excel themselves. So we believe in, as young people, let us build ourselves first. And when we build ourselves first, we will garner the requisite assets that we need to move forward. And then you realize that in time to come, we have a total different political sphere, one that is non-tribal and one that would always put Jamaica first.
And let us not be mistaken, one of our mission as a political organization is to attract votes. Because it is through the votes that you will get power to make the sort of impact that you want to make. But that is not the only objective. Like, for instance, Young Jamaica, the youth arm of the party, we are a grassroots organization. Our reach extend to communities across Jamaica. So we have chapters in all 63 constituencies across Jamaica, and we have impact in all 200 odd divisions across Jamaica. So we are actively engaging young people on the ground. That's why we can tell you that we have from where we are seated, we have a very good knowledge of what are some of the views of young people on the ground, what are some of the aspirations of young people, and we are playing our part in ensuring that those views and aspirations are represented. For example, one of the biggest issues right now is the whole issue of unemployment among our young people. But this government would have successfully brought down those figures year after year. Right now, I think the last time I look at it, the unemployment figure for young people, I don't want to misquote myself, is about 25.4% as at October 2017. The last time PNP was in power, it was 33.3%. So this government is actively carrying down the figures of unemployment among young people.
Wow.
Wonderful.
So providing opportunities for youth to develop themselves and being on the ground and inspiring them to join the political arena. We want to lead out with one last question from you guys. What is your organization's or your personal vision for the development of Jamaica as it relates to our youth? Make it nice.
All right. Well, I want to see a Jamaica where all our youth are educated. I am passionate about leadership as well. So I want a Jamaica where all our youths are not only bright but yearn leadership as well. And in going forward, that is what I think is essential to make Jamaica a better place. What?
I genuinely want to see a Jamaica that is crime free. One, I genuinely want to see a Jamaica where opportunities are available for not just our young people, but for everybody. So that when you go to school, well, access to education is one, but when you have access and you have attained a good education, there are jobs available, good paying jobs available for all our people. I genuinely want to see a first world Jamaica.
Indeed.
All right. So before we go, I just want to ask you. You can just answer yes or no. You plan on entering representational politics?
Definitely.
You plan on entering representational politics?
Yes.
Wow. So we're joined by our future political minds that are going to join us in Parliament. Okay, so now we're going to take a break, and when we come back, you're going to hear two new and wonderful voices. Talk up, Masafi.
Talk up, youth.
We'll be right back.
Yes, Jamaica, it is a blessing, and we are back at Talk Up Pete Radio, where we're talking about young leaders in politics. We just wrapped up our conversation with the president of the G2K and Young Jamaica of the Labour Party, and now we are here speaking to Krystal Tomlinson, president of the PNPYo, and Omar Newell, president of the PNP Patriots. Now, we're jumping straight into our conversation, right? And we want Omar and Krystal just tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Starting with Krystal?
Right.
Okay. I'm Krystal Tomlinson. I'm 27 years old. I'm a communications consultant professionally. But in terms of my work in youth development, I'm very, very involved on the ground, particularly in high schools with youth mentorship. This new role as PNPYo president is just an extension of a desire and passion I have to continue mentoring youth towards better decision making. And much of the training that we've done has centered around their choices in terms of education, sexual and reproductive health, financial literacy, but we realize that everybody uncomfortable when our politics time, and nothing gets done until people understand the political system and are bold enough to challenge it when we're uncomfortable. So taking up the role now as interim president of the YO is to ensure that there is also formal mentorship in the political space for what we want policies to look like for youth, and really what we want young politicians to look and sound like. So I was very put off a while ago when I heard that it was okay to throw jabs at the other side in this sort of disparaging way to suggest that nothing go on there, and so nothing should ever happen there. I don't think that's a stance we need to take. And in 2018, after a president like Barack Obama, some conversations have to change and some ways of doing business have to change. Third world political operations can't continue in a country where, as Mr. Chamberlain said, we want to see a first world kind of development, and politics has to be the place that we start. It drives all the major headlines and conversations, and it's the main reason why young people stress out when them see them in a politics, because them said, oh no, I'm mudslinging time, Krystal, clean skin, don't go there. So I don't think it's acceptable, and I don't think it's something that we should encourage at all, because we know what the conversations on the ground are, and to do something like that sort of reinforces those same fears and inhibitions.
Omar.
Yeah, man. I'm Omar Newell. I won't give my age. I'm a lawyer by profession. Worked and lectured law in the States. Then moved to Jamaica in 2012 to come and make a difference. I actually moved out to get involved in youth development, worked at National Youth Service, took a significant pay cut to come and work at NYS and to help with their field programs. I'm still recovering from same. My involvement in politics is because I think more people who grew up in a one-bedroom house with 5 years struggling on one bed in rural Jamaica need to come in, make your voice heard. I think sometimes a system can be so entrenched and so bad that it requires a number of people to come in and to bomb rush it in order to change it. I grew up with parents who had been involved in politics back in the day who have since migrated, saying, don't go in politics, it's pure thief there. And me responding, but if pure thief there, it means we need a whole heap of righteous youth for running in a Babylon and take it on. So I joined with Krystal and I welcome, Patriots and YO has worked closely historically, and we welcome Krystal. She's a friend of mine, not just a political colleague. And I too am disappointed at the statement that Matthew made, and I don't think it's something that you can justify. I think the one good thing is I think he has accepted how careless he was in the statement, and he has since deleted it.
I mean, he let out with it. He said, at the risk of sounding like a
So
jerk,
he
let out
knew.
with that statement. But the important thing to garner from what you guys just said was that when you were entering the arena, or when you entered, people were saying, no, don't go there, don't take it up.
I was just gonna ask Shaqkeera. There's $1 million question everybody want to find out. Krystal Tomlinson. Afterwards, we can ask Omar. Why the People's National Party?
Yeah.
I believe in democratic socialism, and it's very simple. Drawing on the same analogy that was shared here about teaching a man to fish instead of giving him a fish, the principle of democratic socialism understands that some people have to go and eat some fish while they are training them out for fish because they're hungry, and them coming to the market with no fish at all. So operating on the presumption that yes, every man have to learn how to fish, but what do you do for those who come in the market hungry? Are they supposed to spend the bulk of their time learning? The principles of democratic socialism ask that you do things like that to structure the economy and the social infrastructure to make sure, say, a man can eat him while you teach him. And that's why we have institutions like a students' loan bureau. So if you're going to tell me that your idea is every man must go learn to fish for themselves, if that was truly the idealistic principle of a JLP, then we would not look for ways to restructure and to maintain an institution like this, like the SLB, because that is inherently giving people fish.
Giving them fish.
Right? Instead of allowing them to go learn for fish. Instead of saying, boy, you have to throw a little partner first and then come take your draw. The idea is, here we have this put down for you. Take it, go learn for fish, and then come back and pay it back so we can give other people fish so they can learn too. So if that is the ideological distinction, then I don't think both parties have any distinction at all, because in practice for the JLP, a lot of the institutions that they maintain and a lot of the funding and resources that they give to are institutions that facilitate this sort of democratic socialism principle. So if that's the point, I want to say that I don't think we have ideological differences, and maybe we have some room on this side for Mr. Chamberlain.
But I think there are some differences, because the idea that capital and people will always win in decisions is utopian. It's something that sounds good, and probably textbooks talk about it. But the truth is, I want to be on the side that says we need to reduce bank fees because it affects people, and not on the side that says, oh, we need to wait on the market to act, because while we're waiting on the market to act, somebody leaving Portmore to go and cash a check and paying $500 each way to cash a $2,000 check and then paying $1,200 to have that check cashed. They can't wait on the invisible hand and the virtuous and invisible hand of the market to act. So because of the background I have on the places I come from, where people are vulnerable and always need someone to speak up on their behalf, and where, as Krystal put it, people sometimes need that little piece of fish for sustain them while they learn to fish. I have to be on the team that puts people and the interests of people before capital, if such a decision has to be made.
Omar, you mentioned twice just now, where you're from. People want to know where exactly in Jamaica you come from. Is it is it rural, urban? Because to me it sounds as if.
Tell us your story. Well,
I mean, I thought people just know that St. Mary, the most beautiful parish in the country, Robins Bay. Don't try it. Demoye, don't try. Just work with it. I'm from Highgate in St. Mary.
I wanted to jump in. I mean, what I want to allow people to understand is there is nothing inherently wrong with choosing a side. It's okay to subscribe to a particular ideology. It's okay to want to be in a room where, you know, persons share similar beliefs as you. So I want to know now, what are some of the underground things that the PNPYo and the PNP Patriots, the People's National Party Patriots, have done? What are some of the things as it relates to youth as well?
You want?
Okay, sure.
Anybody?
So in the last year and a half, the YO has really been rebuilding. We admit to quite a bit of deficiency, particularly at the structural level. So the immediate past President Connolly Black spent a lot of time on the ground, in communities doing those assessments. Where are the units of the YO operating from? How are they serving the communities that they're supposed to serve? And what kind of institutional strengthening do they need? So it's been a lot of reflecting, at least in the immediate past, about what we are doing wrong and how to fix that. And I think it's the benefit of being in opposition. You get the time to reflect as opposed to position and posture as though everything is fully together and we know what we're doing. So I can't speak definitively and with great detail in terms of the previous standing, but I do know what our strategic framework looks like right now. In the short term, it's about institutional strengthening. No leader in the youth organization should have gotten or stay in the position of leadership without going through very instructive leadership training, emotional intelligence training, self-management training. It's a deficiency we have in Gordon House, and it is a core tenet of at least the administration that I will lead at the YO to make sure so you're fit for leadership. All if you have the position already, we're going to come back and do some sort of remedial training with our leadership core so they can go out and do work. Regardless of whether we're in government or opposition, you never get too comfortable so that you don't act and function like a leader. And then we move into other trainings that allow them to make better decisions on their own. One of the things we are not doing as the first point of contact is to say, come join the YO so you can vote for the PNP and we can get back in our power and then life will go nice and sweet.
Yeah.
When I was outside of the political space, my intention as a youth leader was not to be told how to vote. I wanted to look at both structures and see which one of them met my future needs. And so I want to empower young people to be able to make those decisions for themselves. And when we run our training session, if you come out and say, boy, I'm going to vote that way, I'm going to vote that way, I'm not vex. The point is to make sure that you feel empowered to choose, as opposed to standing back now and saying, boy, I don't know which way for turning, I'm going to just buy a ticket and go to New York.
Do you think, jumping on that point that you made earlier, do you think that the current system is allowing for any youth to sit back and observe both of the parties? Because it's kind of restricted when you choose to join the PNPYo or you choose to join the G2K or any youth affiliate of any party. It's kind of restrictive in terms of the ideas and the ideologies that they put forward. So what do you think are some of the ways that we can improve that, and do you think that the current atmosphere is doing that?
So to answer your second question first, this current atmosphere does not allow for that, because we like that sort of Manichaean approach to politics. Is either black or white, and if you not choose black, you must white, and if you not choose white, you must black. And that feeling as though we're all fighting for very scarce resources, and so if you pick my side, you get more of the resources, or if you pick the other side, you're not going to get as much of the resources. Politicians in this space like that kind of behavior. But if we look at countries that are experiencing far higher rates of development, particularly social stability, there's a lot of cooperation that goes on and fluidity between political opinions that we don't facilitate here. We pretend as though we want young people to be involved, but we really don't, because the minute young people are involved, we become the largest base that politicians have to chase. Like right now, politicians say them only have to deal with like trade unions, and maybe some people over here saying a private sector. Any day young people become so properly organized that politicians have to run we down, like the Jamaica Youth Advocacy Network, for instance, is 10,000 members strong. The entire setup of politics will have to change because they have to come good. Right now, we're very scattered, and the role of the YO moving ahead is to help those scattered, already functioning youth groups organize themselves properly to push back against the system. And if at the end of that you want to join the YO, fine, but you don't get access to that training only because you're a YO member. That's not how we want to operate.
Yes, I like it. Now we have to run to our quick break. When we come back, we'll be back with Krystal Tomlinson and Omar Newell of the PNP's Youth Arms. Talk up, youth, myself. Talk up, youth. Welcome back to the Talk Up Radio Show, the voice of the Jamaican youth, where today we're seated with Krystal Tomlinson, the president of the People's National Party's youth organization, and Omar Newell, the president of the PNP Patriots. Now, before in our conversation, we spoke about the importance of a belief system and, the intrinsic aspect of politics and its impact on the people. What are some of the measures that we put in place or that you think should be put in place to distract the belief system of youths who are of our society who may believe that crime, scamming, robbing, killing might be the only chance of hope for them to make it out of poverty? Omar.
I think what we have to do is just show them more positive examples, more positive role models, and that is why I appreciate Krystal's approach to the YO, and I'm looking forward to collaborating to see how we can go in communities, provide some additional mentorship, how we can, when I was in law school in Chicago, one of the programs I was a part of was one that did just that. We went on the south side of Chicago, at the risk of sounding like Obama. We went on the south side of Chicago, and we would play basketball with some young boys, and because they would beat us up, they would say, "Hey, law student, you can't match this, you can't manage this," and we would rap, we would have a nice little conversation, we would poke fun at each other. And before you know it, you're a big brother. Before you know it, you're helping someone to fill out college application forms and saying, well, if you apply early, you get scholarships, etc., showing them how you were able to make it out of whatever. And within the organization, we have so many aspiring leaders in their own field. We have I won't call names, but eminent doctors and lawyers and teachers and police officers, nurses, etc., who are good at what they do, who are sometimes from vulnerable backgrounds and who can share and help to lead somebody along the way. So I think the best way to show or to help people to understand that there's a way other than scamming is to show them that you have been able to make it outside of scamming.
All right. So there's a lot of reflection that is happening as a country. There are a lot of polls that are going around. The most recent one was the Don Anderson one that talked about the impression of the leaders of our country, Peter Phillips and Andrew Holness. So my question to both of you is, what are your views on the leaders, and then what are your views on what the polls are saying?
So I don't think it would be fair for me to give an opinion on Andrew Holness as a leader, because it would come off a little bit vacuous, because I only know him to the extent of the newspaper headlines, and I don't want to use that to be the sum total of who I think he is as a leader, conscientious and able to make critical decisions. Because if it's headlines alone, I would too give a less than favorable grade. So I don't want to go down that road in assessing him. But on the part of Peter Phillips, I think he's a perfect example of the type of leader that Jamaica has always asked for. But I think they've gotten to a space now where the member said that they did want. When you're in conversations with people on the street 5 years ago, 10 years ago, they must say, boy, I want somebody bright. I want somebody who have a record of result. I want somebody where him not have no bag of corruption and scandal around him name and them something there. And then you get one. And then they go, Lord, boy, in Borneo. I often stop to challenge young people on that narrative, because remember we were saying we want people in leadership who are leading political parties without scandal, without a suit against them in court, without some report that them about to go to jail or to answer to some charges. And then you have a man like Peter Phillips, who is very educated. One of my favorite photographs of him was when he did have locks on him head, which says to me that there was a time when even he too was very, very vibrant, pushing against the system, came in and got such great results in his portfolio as finance minister that the Gleaner gave him Man of the Year. That just is not done. And I think we forget that you'd have had to do something very significant and earth-shaking for the press to look at you and say, out of all of the people that you see in both included, you are Man of the Year for what you've been able to do for the economy. So he comes with results. He comes from a place that is not controversial, and I think his brilliance and passion over the years in this political space is enough to give him credibility for me, and certainly an opportunity to show his mettle as a leader.
I think the task we have is to get people to know Peter.
Yeah. To
get people to know the Peter the father, Peter the uncle, Peter the mentor, who will sit you down and say, come Omar, I want you to get in, I want you on the team, I want you to work and be involved in politics, but focus also on your own personal development as an individual. Not to the detriment of your business. We need people to know the Peter who came in and saw a transport system in chaos. Students in Kingston until 6-7 o'clock at night, not knowing how they're going to go home because some buses pretty much locking the door on them, and him coming in and creating a Jamaica Urban Transit Company. And, it's easy to forget some of what he has done in terms of health when he was Minister of Health. He's a man who has a track record of performance, but he's also a person. He's a man who will go out and enjoy some reggae music and say, Omar, I want a CD. This guy Dre Tosh sound good. I want a CD. I want to play him in the car and driving to Montego Bay or wherever. You know, is a rootsy, personable, fun and funny Jamaican who has achieved a whole lot. And our task will be to get more people to know him.
Along that same line, in the last few elections, general and local government, and by elections as well, they had a very significantly low turnout as it relates to voter apathy among the young people of Jamaica. What is it that your organizations plan to do to kind of
increase
the interest of our youth as it relates to politics?
I'll start and then so the first thing we have to do if we're really trying to discuss voter apathy and come up with a plan is we need to understand the extent of the apathy, and I think we don't. So I know we talk about 47 or 48% who turned out in the last election. 46. But the truth is, the last time we had a re-verification of the voters list, which is a going through of the voters list to take off those who are dead, those who are not interested, etc. About 10% of the voters list was removed. This was in 2004, I think. We have a voters list now, which I want to put to you, has a lot of people who you would have passed in lines at embassy, leaving with no intention of coming back. It has a lot of people who would have died over the years, and so there's no question that there's voter apathy, but we really don't know what the extent of it is. We don't know if it's on a straight line and the apathy is the same as it was a couple of years ago, or we don't know what direction we're trending in. So that's the first thing I want to say on the business of voter apathy. The second thing I'll say is I don't know how, but I've heard statistics put forward from both the ECJ after the last general election and from other political talkers and commentators, which suggests that contrary to what we have been believing, the highest voter turnout in the last election was among first-time voters, people between 18 and 19, right? So we certainly have a lot to do in terms of getting rid of the apathy and chipping away at the ice. But we really need to give some critical analysis and thought to where exactly we are in order to chart a direction forward. What the Patriots tries to do is we try to show another side of politics. So we're not just on the road campaigning every day, but we'll go in a community and we'll see a vulnerable family and we'll help and build them a house. This is not the kind of thing that you necessarily put out a press release, because again, without going too much in my past, when I went to school and somebody had to ensure I got a patty and cocoa bread for lunch, I never necessarily wanted my photograph in the paper saying, old boys provide Newell with patty and cocoa bread and Big Joe. Sorry, box drinks. It's not that right? I don't necessarily want that. So what we try and do is we go in spaces, we see a need, we're contributing $100,000 to a children's home this week. That may not come in the paper. We go and read with kids at different homes, and so the way to help and deal with the apathy is to find things that young people will find relevant to come into the organization. So it's not just canvassing, it's not just door to door, but here are some things. You really want to help some people? Come in at the Patriots, come in the YO, and let us go help some people.
Before Krystal comes in, you mentioned, we know you're the president of the Patriots, and you told him a little about what the Patriots do, but who are the Patriots in relation to the People's National Party?
So the Patriots, and let me give you a little breaking news. The Patriots is not. The Patriots is not we affiliate with the PNP, but we're not an affiliate of the People's National Party. However, we have applied for affiliate status, and your listeners are the first to know. Yes, you can clap me. Right? But we're not a mass organization as the YO is. We have been a niche organization over the years. We contribute to policy discussions and some of the things that we have done over the years that we're proud of. We got the government to pay for students to sit a certain number of CXCs. That's a Patriots move. When the PNP and the JLP would not touch the whole business of casino gambling, the Patriots moved a resolution at conference and brought that to the floor. We provide research and campaign management support, and organizations tend to take on personality of their leaders. So of late, we have been doing a lot more underground politics as well. But by and large, we exist to mobilize young professionals who are progressives to find solutions to Jamaica.
Oh, that sounds really good. And Omar, you said something earlier, you guys have been working, but it necessarily won't be in the, the mainstream media and stuff like that. Which brings me to the discussion, to the table, the impact of social media and politics. Because, you're hearing it now, the Jamaica Labour Party has, they're more successful than the People's National Party where social media is concerned. And I think, things like that, even though you might not want to publish it in a newspaper, boy, me they give Omar one party and cocoa bread and one box juice, you understand? But at least to say, this was done, that was done, not to state your name and stuff like that. But I just want to ask, how impactful. Yes. Has social media been to the People's National Party? And if so, how do you guys plan on using it where Patriots is concerned and YO is concerned?
Alright. So I hear you in and again the common view is that the JLP is doing better in terms of social media than the PNP is doing. I'll just put one observation out there. The Prime Minister of the country has a couple of 100,000 people on social media. If he puts out a message on Facebook that is not promoted, about 40 or 50 interact with that message.
If it's not
promoted, now you can go and take a look. I think there are members of the JLP who do well on Facebook and Twitter, and I think there are members of the PNP who do well on Facebook and Twitter. But as organizations, I don't know if it is true. I won't accept it as true that as an organization, the JLP. What's happening? Does better. Does better on. Sorry, the light just went. Does better. Cliff. I won't necessarily accept it as true. I'll say we have. So there's Andrew. I don't know who else you will say has a big following on social media with the JLP. The PNP, we have Lisa Hanna, who has a huge following. We have Damien Crawford. We have Krystal, who has a huge following. So we all are active to some extent, and there absolutely is more that can be done. But I don't want to accept as true without further rigor that one is doing better than the other.
And I want to support what he's saying in terms of how it can also impact the political space. A lot of people who are overseas use the temperature of social media to gauge what's happening in the country and the extent to which they can get involved. If a GoFundMe campaign is being run, if the government launch a new program that needs support, if there is a petition to change a law, we're using social media to mobilize support, particularly from people in the diaspora. But we're missing a major opportunity, and that's why it's important to have youth properly involved in political spaces. There is this large conversation happening globally about online voting in the same way that we're comfortable with online banking. And if you ask, the polls show that people are much more concerned with somebody knowing what in a them bank account than to know who them vote for, which means that if me can have online banking, emotionally I'm comfortable putting my vote online. Exactly. So when we see and we talk about the penetration of the internet and people having so many smartphones, and instead of creating a policy that benchmarks the data we have about people using technology to drive youth inclusion in the political system, we use it to generate social following for ourselves. It's a very selfish use of the platform, particularly at the national governmental level. We have an opportunity here to put on the table something like online voting to include more young people in the process. We are not interested in having to prove where we live in order to reach on the voters list, especially when so many of us are in university. I can't use UWI as an address, and so there are thousands of people on the university campus who can't go back to St. Mary, go sit down and wait till the EOJ reach. So how do we modernize the systems in ways that encourage young people to participate and pull down some of those barriers to voting participation? I think online voting is a powerful policy. The Y is going to be exploring that a lot more, but we're beginning first to test how people will receive the proposal and then get some movement on it so we can change the space.
I like it. Some of you call it politics, but some people know it as politics, the way to affect and effect policy for positive social change. And we have to run on a quick break, but remember, if you want to get into the conversation, you can call us at 630-9371, 630-9372-4 to continue the conversation after the break. Talk up youth, Monteith. Talk up youth.
All right, Jamaica, hello. You're tuning in to Talk Up Radio, the voice of the Jamaican youth. Talk Up Youth, Miss Effie.
Talk Up Youth.
Yes, I'm Empress, one of the oldest girls in the room. You know, I told my young people after 6 months I'm never coming back on here because it's your show, but sometimes I do slip in. They call me the mama mentor. And I love some of you lots and some of you a little bit. I don't tell lies when it comes to how much I love you. Well, the phone lines are open if you do want to join the discussion. We're not taking a lot of callers today, but the phone lines are open. 630-9371, 630-937-224. I want to congratulate our young people of the Talk Up Youth, Talk Up Radio team for facilitating this great discussion about young leaders in politics. Yes, clap them, clap them, clap them, clap them. Everybody I run from it, but we are committed to playing our part as citizens and playing our part in the governance and government structure of this country. And the tribal politics, if you want to be tribal, that's all right. But first is Jamaica, and that's what we're putting first here. So we want to thank Young Jamaican President Howard Chamberlain, right, who the recently appointed Krystal Tomlinson invited him to come to her PNPYo group.
Well,
congratulations, Krystal, again. We have PNP Patriots President Omar Newell, who is not as young as the others, but he represents the youth. We have the UE chapter of the G2K, the president, call him DJ. Durronjae Boothe.
Hey, indeed.
I want to thank you for coming in. So let's get straight into something. I wanted you guys to continue the conversation together. No, we had you in separate segments. But recently, Talk Up Youth did an all-island survey, baseline survey, and it comprised an online survey of adolescents and young people island-wide, supplemented by on-the-ground data collection. I know you talk about social media, but it's hard to get to some young people in rural areas. We have issues with that. So we did an all-island survey, and we accessed 4,000 something young people, and we were able to go through and find out how young people thought about politicians, the political process. So we have all of that data, and I just want to say we're going to share it with both of you so you can truly understand how they think and their responses to certain questions. So we have all of that data there for you to drive the youth growth in playing their part as citizens. But let's look at some things I want to discuss because I think we need to look at the current knowledge. When we talk about politics, what is it that you both think young people truly understand about it? Let's look at what are they saying. Let's go to the music. Let's go to how people talk about politics. What is the behavior like on the ground with young people when it comes to the word politics and governance and government? How you feel they really think?
Well, as I said earlier in the first segment, generally the youths are disinterested, and I personally think it's because of the political history that we've had.
That's Omar talking here. Mm-hmm.
All right. In order for that to change, we need a new inspirational leader. To be honest, as a Jamaican, I think the last inspirational leader we had was the American Manley, and we need somebody new in place that can change the mindset of the Jamaican populace.
Let's ask, why was Manley inspirational? What was it about his leadership? We need to go there because the reason, let me just say, the reason I say that is because a lot of young people just know Manley as a national hero, and so we. Sorry?
No,
not a national hero. As a hero, a historical figure is what I look for in our country. But what is it about the leadership?
Right.
What is it?
Inspirational leader, we're talking about changing the mindset of a plethora of Jamaican individuals, right? And because young people are disinterested because of the political history, what we as young people need to do now, what the government and the leaders need to do now, is to choose a leader that can inspire the youth to be more involved. And with that inspiration, there will be a change, I believe.
All right, and who do you think that leader should be?
No, but hold on. You had me at Jamaicans need to choose an inspirational leader, and I want to agree with you there.
All right. So what you're saying is, and who's in the running for that? Who is the closest to you that you've observed? You have people who have political aspirations that sit in the House right now, whether they're MPs or ministers of a certain portfolio. Who have you guys identified as the
I'm going to be fair here.
Yourself?
Damien Crawford.
Damien?
Absolutely.
Right.
When you see how Damien is able to rally the sort of support, you see them a clap on the line, I tell this the sort of support from young people and old people. He has a way of understanding information and breaking it down at the molecular level. So whether you go school or not, read or can't read, you understand what he's
a great
saying.
mathematician
and
too.
He is bold in confronting the system. He's the only politician in recent times, particularly a young politician, who will stand up even against his own party and say, boy, won't I do another right thing? I'm going to go tell people if you don't listen to me. And that is a sort of momentum that he's able to build. That is the reason he's able to build this kind of momentum.
Okay.
So if I'm to be fair, I think Damien Crawford would be a good example.
Could be a good example.
I want to pull you back a little bit.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Chamberlain. That was Krystal. Mr. Chamberlain, speak up. Talk up into the mic.
I mean, one of the things that you asked DJ was why my command was able to
inspire a nation.
Inspire a couple of people.
He said a plethora of.
I mean, my command is sold this sort of farce about democratic socialism that a lot of Jamaican buy into. A lot of Jamaican who never felt like it was okay for them to learn how to catch a fish. But as I heard was said in a segment a little bit earlier, that it was okay to go and eat some fish, and some go and eat the fish and never ever learned how to catch a fish. And certainly in today's society we would have seen where the democratic socialism experiment would have hurt our country. In recent times I think Bruce Gold would have been a very inspirational leader. I've had a whole lot of young people across Jamaica who would have been inspired to come to the fore of the Jamaica Labour Party, or even to align themselves with the JLP because of a Bruce Golding. Andrew Holness, as our present political leader and Prime Minister, he has inspired a whole lot of young people. The way he has revolutionized politics, how you interact with your leaders, utilizing social media to market the party, market the achievement of the government, and more importantly, to communicate with the population. I think a lot of young people are attracted to the government, attracted to the JLP as a result of Andrew Holness.
There's something I want to touch on, and it's the argument of whether. Hold on, it's the argument of whether this argument about this fishy argument.
The fishing argument.
Which, however you want to put it. Let's just be clear. Governments give up revenue from time to time to support whatever ends or whatever objective they have. For example, governments give up revenue to companies that list on the junior stock exchange because they want them to grow their business. There's no criteria that you must grow your workforce. You must grow in order for them to grow their business. You get an income tax reprieve for a period of time. Government give up revenues, for example, to bauxite companies and other multinationals because they have certain objectives in mind. And I dare say government sometimes gives up revenue to support, or uses revenue to support the most vulnerable in society. The ideological difference is so stark that even the language is different. So I don't, when an elderly or a disabled or a vulnerable person or somebody who may be behind because of education system that the government has not properly invested in, requires a little bit more help in order to go forward, I don't see it as any different from government giving up revenue to achieve some kind of objective. So you will not have Young Jamaica come in and tell you that, boy, is a handout a bauxite company gets. But if Miss Matty down the road, in order to go and upskill herself, you decide that you're going to ensure that she has the nutrients necessary, or her children have the nutrients necessary to go through that process, is fisher giving Miss Matty. And I can't agree, I can't subscribe to that argument. Every government, every progressive government has a welfare state, some social welfare system. And I 100% agree with a system that empowers and that says we are helping you to walk through this and to get through this difficulty. But the argument that is this kind of disparaging look at state helping people, I can't subscribe to it. I can't agree with it. And now on the Michael Manley matter, just quickly, no, quickly on quickly, I have the microphone now. Give me a second. Quickly on the Michael Manley. Quickly on the Michael Manley matter.
Alright, let's jump to a break and we come back and finish this between Omar and Howard. We're gonna take break and we'll jump back into this conversation. Because there are a couple more things I need you guys to stick and stay in the this next segment, because we're going to talk about democracy and if we should get rid of the Queen as the head of state. I want to know your opinions on that too. We take a break. We're talking youth and politics, governance. We're building a country, one youth at a time. All right, let's get straight into it. Talk Up Radio, the voice of the Jamaican youth, a Talk Up Youth initiative. We're going how many shows now? Episode number 96. Thank you very much. Clap yourselves. We nearly hit that 100 mark, and we are making a difference, one youth at a time. We're talking youth in politics, and let's get straight back into it. Omar and Howard, let's get back into it. We're talking about Michael Manley. All right, you decide who to give who.
So I was just saying, Omar, you mentioned that, in terms of the JLP throwing some sort of scorn on this whole idea of providing help to or vulnerable in the society. That is absolutely not true. The JLP, like Mama P, believe that she loved the poor. The JLP don't love the poor forever. We love the poor to the extent that we want to help them to get out of poverty. So as a government, we have decided that we are going to invest in certain things. We're going to give up revenues for certain things, like the ensuring that there are proper access to education at the secondary level. So we remove everything that can be considered as a mandatory fee at the secondary level, ensuring that, though our health system have its own challenges, ensuring that at least at the minimum that there is proper access to healthcare in this country. And there are other things, but I know you're edging to speak about Michael Manley.
No, but we celebrate universal access to education. Mm-hmm. What we would want to join in celebrating is universal access to quality education. So, for example, to a space where people can go in and be properly taught in a safe and secure environment. So, for example, Horace Clark High School, which we have discussed, mm-hmm. I would want to celebrate a perimeter fence being put in place there. But the government has decided that the priority is fulfilling a campaign promise, which says everybody can go, regardless of the fact that St. Mary High School has access to this huge old students base that comes in and supports, and Horace Clark High School, formerly Islington, has none. So we're at one that there should be universal access to education, and I dare say I think the state has a responsibility to pay for it. But we're not at the same, because I'm not going to celebrate the quality of the system that is there, and it's not the fault of any one party. I'm just saying, as far as priorities are concerned. Now, you said earlier that Michael Manley is misguided socialism, but I don't think maternity leave with pay, minimum wage, and look, don't fall in the same trap that Samuda fell in with that tweet. You can compete and celebrate. You can compete and congratulate. And Michael Manley, the changes that Michael Manley, hold on, the kind of re-engineering that Michael Manley did, and yes, there are some negatives of it, but the kind of what Michael Manley did for the psyche of Jamaicans, you can't take that away from him.
All right,
no amount of spinning will take that away from him.
But we're not spinning doing that, Empress. We're simply saying.
What are you saying?
We're simply saying, the Minimum Wage Act and the Maternity with Leave Pay Act, those are excellent things that came from the Michael Manley era, but we're still saying that Michael Manley was one of the single most contributor to the decline in our economy and our country.
All right, I love where you guys are going. You know why? Because these conversations are not we're not hearing these kinds of conversations with young people. Let's look at the Constitution. Let's look at our rights. Let's look at acts. Let's look at laws. Let's look at constitutional reform and the process that we as young people can play. And this is really where I want to charge your organizations to really re-educate, because the youth and black people are at the bottom of the socio-economic chain, and what that means is that whoever was there before still has not set the right systems in place to take us as a country out of poverty. So if we want to talk real, it's going to take some true leadership. Is it going to happen with the Queen still as the head of state? Is a democracy really okay for our Jamaican people? I want to know your views on that. Do you think the current political system and the fact that we are in debt as a country can really bring true growth? What are the revolutionary things that have to happen systematically to bring true change, to uplift the people and get them out of the state where we are economically? One must have an opinion on that.
Alright, well,
Anybody?
My opinion on that.
Krystal? Yes. DJ.
I'm afraid to say what I'm going to say, but I'm going to be objecting nonetheless.
Have an opinion, sir.
I believe that in Jamaican's political system, democracy to me is somewhat of a facade. If you have done political history and study the nations that have grown, the so-called developed countries, we realize that they did not start it off as democracies. Let us look at majority of the first world states, England, France, these countries, they were once monarchical. You now follow me? When we say monarchical, they were ruled by a single individual. I honestly believe that Jamaica need a period where we have one strong leader. We say, yeah, go on, man. At this me I go do, and at this are the betterment for all Jamaican people. I will just work with it. We are living in a state where we are very close to the US and to the Canadas and to all these countries. I'm not calling it communism, but I think we need a strong leader that make decision despite the backlash from the Jamaican populace, but in his personal blueprint, it is the right way forward. And with that said, I believe it is coinciding with no queen.
Yeah. All right. No queen.
And I think
Krystal.
we share the opinion there. We need to take steps right now to get rid of the queen as our head of state. There is no reason why Jamaican citizens should be funding a king's house, for instance.
A GG.
It's not appropriate in a country that is coming out of such a very disheartening legacy of slavery, much of which still exists, and we quarrel about why we have to see people doing certain things with them skin and with them hair and the conversations that black men have with other black men. A lot of it is systemic, and we leave those emblems in place, psychologically reminding people of the defeat of our culture as a nation and the defeat of our political system, because we still must defer at the highest level in our justice system to a privy council. And I don't think we understand what that means for our ability to really function independently, generate our own laws and our own body of how we want to govern ourselves. And it takes something like this to start it. Trinidad and Tobago do it. Yes, you're going to tell me it's expensive, but freedom is expensive.
Oh, yes.
And 360, 100 degree freedom is required for it's going to cost you.
Hashtag it, girl.
In terms of a revolutionary approach to how we're going to reposition Jamaica and the Jamaican psyche, I want to lean into this question of psychology. We don't pay a lot of attention to the psychology of Jamaicans and what Jamaican parents transfer to Jamaican children, who then become parents and transfer again to Jamaican children. We think that showing them how to count, read, use the computer sufficiently liberates their mind, and that is not true. The Chinese know that is not true, and so deeply embedded in their education system is philosophy, what it means to be Chinese.
That they are the greatest, better than everybody else. That's how they're taught.
Those conversations with young people outside of the educational system, because there's no room for that in the classroom. The teachers don't know how to speak about it that way. Parents don't know how to talk to their children that way. When questions come up about my hair, mommy, why I can't wear my hair to school this way, the teacher telling me to bun it, a parent doesn't know how to answer it, so she said cream it and done. And that sort of psychology where we must conform socially to fit into existing political systems defeat our ability to become movers and shakers in the economy and in the social space.
We're going to follow up with you, Krystal, because we want to hear the final two words, because we have to take a break. And Krystal, do you have aspirations to be the Minister of Youth? If you're if the PNP were to win the next general election, would you be positioning yourself for a seat as an MP somewhere, as a Ministry of Youth, as a Minister of State in the Ministry of Youth? Do you have those aspirations?
Not to be an MP. If I get in the position of a Minister of State or something, that's fine, but not to be a Member of Parliament.
All right.
No.
Just wanted to know. Thank you. It's good to know, because everybody's going to be asking. I know all the newspapers are asking for you, so me want to get the first set of questions. You understand? You see you. All right. Let's hear from you, Omar and Howard. Final words on this. I do want to know, does the current political system work? Remove the header queen or not?
Remove
the header queen. Howard, talking to Mike. I don't know why you laugh every time you come to the mic.
I mean, we have always been a party that believes in putting the interests of Jamaica first. We are a party that believes in the nation. And on the matter of referendum on the Queen, well, on the matter of removing the Queen as the head of state, is a matter for referendum. We think the people should decide. I won't offer my personal views on it, but we think the people of Jamaica should decide on it.
So that means a referendum.
The people never decided to keep her. I want a referendum on Pernell's wig. sorry. Come on here. I apologize.
You mean the Speaker of the House, sir?
I apologize.
The Speaker of the House and Member of Parliament there in Clarendon.
I was certainly. I mean, the last government that was here told us that the Prime Minister would have become the Queen. We certainly don't want that. So we want the people to actually make a decision on this matter.
But Krystal said the people said them want.
The people didn't choose her.
Exactly.
Great, so let's
we have to make a decision.
Awesome. So let us formalize the decision. Let us formalize the decision
with the West Indies Federation. It irritates me to no end that in 2018 you're going to pay people to choose whether or not they want to leave slavery behind.
So if it doesn't go to a referendum, means it can happen in Parliament. Is it that our members of Parliament can actually vote on that, right?
That's why we voted for them, for them to take decisions on our behalf.
And the MPs should meet with their constituents to get their views and then bring it to the floor instead of we gotta go. This is politics. This is what happens. All right, we're gonna have it another day because it can go on. Let's have a part 2. Can you all commit to that? Another day? All right.
Talk up, youth, Mustafi. Talk up, youth.
Guys, we're going to be out of here in a matter of seconds. In 3 minutes. We have 3 minutes. Demoye, you have nobody you want big up. I know you're going carnival later. Or are you going to sleep?
I'm high, Shaqkeera. I don't know what she's talking about, but let me just say, today was a wonderful show. I would not have missed it for the world. It's such a fruitful discussion that we had earlier. And it really is inspiring for me and for the youth of Jamaica. That we can have youth leaders in both political parties. Sitting in the same room at the same table. And having a wonderful discussion.
Today was a really, really, really amazing show, and we want to thank you all for listening and for joining us and for contributing to our conversation and on the different social media platforms. Join us next week Saturday for another amazing show, maybe part 2, who knows. And you were listening to Shaqkeera,
Demoye right here,
Stephen,
and Tristan is somewhere. I don't know.
Tristan still having the conversation
he's somewhere.
out there.
And Kristeena is in studio with us.
And we want to big up our producer, Kristeena. We want to big up Tamika. We want to also big up Mama Empress. We want to big up Andrica, all the Talk Up With family team, and for everybody for tuning in and listening. Go out, be inspired, and get involved. We're going now. We're leaving.
Talk Up Youth, Mustafi.
Talk Up Youth.